Yes, yes, I know it's been quite a while since I have last filmed a video, and I do apologize. Still recovering from this stomach mess that I've been dealing with. I'm on the mend from that, though, knock on wood. The main issue I'm dealing with right now is really bad hair loss, which shows that my body was traumatized, because if you experience trauma of any kind on your body, that's the first thing to go is your hair. It happened when I had my transplant in 2006. It happened when I had my head and back surgeries in 2013. 2016 when I had liver rejection. So I kind of know what to be looking out for in that regard. But anyway, going back to this video, I started reading again because I was in the mood to read. And in January, I was reading a good bit, but then I got sick, and I just was trying to focus on resting and trying to recover as much as I could. So I stopped for a while, but then just recently, last month, I got back into reading again. So I thought I would show you guys the books that I've picked up recently, and you guys let me know if you've read any of them, if you're interested in one of them, if you want to know my non-spoilery thoughts, I can do a review on type of thing. So I'm going to do the ones that I've already read, because I have already read 5 of these. So I'm going to do those first. So this little one back. The first one, and you guys are going to think I'm weird, because 5 of these are North Korea related. I say stepdad, but he's not really a friend of the family that considers me his daughter. I call him stepdad. He thought I was super weird getting all of these. So the first one is called The Girl with 7 Names. This came from North Korea. I've seen a lot of her interviews, and I've seen her TED Talk videos on YouTube. And her story is interesting. So basically, her birth name is different, but when her mom remarried, her mother-in-law had the daughter's name changed. It was really weird. I'm not going to get too big into that, because she goes over each scenario that explains why she changed her name so many times. But she went through some insane stuff just to escape from North Korea, honestly. Not as bad as Yeonmi's book, thankfully. She didn't. Yeonmi Park, if you guys remember me mentioning that book. She fled North Korea in the winter, like her. Except Yeonmi fled just a day after having her appendix removed and walked across a frozen river. Yeah. So she didn't do that. I mean, she fled in the winter, but she didn't have to deal with that circumstance, thankfully. So yeah. And this one, I think all the North Korea ones I got from Barnes and Noble, with the exception of one of them, the mom were one on Amazon. Yeah, I got this one, and then I'll go ahead and do the Amazon one next, since they're along a similar vein. This is called Under the Same Sky by Joseph Kim. And I've seen his interviews and stuff and TED Talks on YouTube about how he fled. And basically, he grew up, just as a normal kid would. Everything was good, but then the famine in the 90s hit. and he actually saw and witnessed his father die from starvation. I don't even have words, honestly. I'm not going to go into any further detail because obviously spoiler territory, but I did want to mention that because I cannot imagine seeing a parent literally starve to death. I couldn't imagine seeing that. That's just insane. So reading his story was interesting too, because his is very different from her. Because usually when they flee to China, the women get sold as child brides or prostitutes in brothels, or thankfully she didn't have to deal with that, but Youngmi did. But him, when he fled, because he was a male, it was a lot harder for him to get to where he needed to go to get to South Korea. So his journey is significantly more different than Kunsa. I think that's how you say her name. Yeah, Kunsa Lee. But here's his picture on the back. You guys want to see what he looks like. And then this next one is interesting for a different reason. This is called Without You There Is No Us. It's by Suki Kim. This is about a woman whose family is really atheist. She goes undercover as a missionary to teach English to North Korean students in the capital at their university. So this was really interesting for me because, one, the fact that she went undercover. She's actually a journalist, and she went undercover to do that. So the fact that she did that was interesting to me for that reason, but also to see a different take on being in North Korea in general. Not just fleeing the country, but simply being there and teaching these kids when there's such a language barrier. Not to mention a technology barrier too, because they don't have access to like modern technology like we do. So I'm sure it was very different trying to get them to understand things like iPads or phones or things like that. So it was really interesting to see how she tries to break that barrier while still trying to make sure that it stays approved in the eyes of the government. Because there's a fine line there that you can tread, and she was really trying to stay right on that line. Because if the higher-ups didn't approve it, then she was screwed. But also, if she had another way of doing it, she had to be careful because then the missionary group that she was with would reject the idea. So it's about her finding that fine balance between getting it approved by the missionary group and the higher-ups. So it's just really interesting to me that she was able to find a decent balance. And she was actually there the last semester that she taught ended with Kim Jong-il, the second Kim, so not Kim Jong-un's father, passing away, and she actually witnesses the students and how they grieve. And she said it was just heartbreaking. This is what she looks like on the back. We'll focus. She's got interviews and stuff on YouTube as well, but I wanted to actually read the book before I watched the interviews. Okay. Fourth North Korea book. I apologize. This one is called North Korea Confidential. And this one was okay. This one was like listing facts about the country and things, just in general about the economy, about how people were in the country, like how they interacted, some of their ideals, some of their teachings, like that kind of thing. And it also came with photographs, which I thought was cool. I think I ended up giving this a 3.5 out of 5 on Goodreads, but I thought it was interesting and informative, but it's not one that, if you're not looking for a big, massive amount of information, you probably wouldn't like this. If you're curious in general about history of the country, this would be good. But as someone who really finds interesting about people that have fled or people that have been in the country, whether as a tourist or as a teacher, that one wasn't exactly my cup of tea. The last one that I finished, I actually just finished this about an hour ago. It's 2:40 in the morning right now. My schedule's messed up. It is Tiger's Curse by Colleen Hook. That's how you say her last name. I'm slipping off. Now this one, the Joseph Kim book, was the one from Amazon that I mentioned. The other 3 that I mentioned previously were from Barnes & Noble, and a 4th one that I'm going to show in a minute. This one, I got from a local bookstore here. It's called Wall of Books. They just opened, and you can go in and trade in books for store credit to buy books in the store. So I had some Nora Roberts books that I had gotten that people thought I would be interested in, and I'm just not a heavy romance person. I'm just not. So I took them in, got store credit, and this was one of the ones that I got. I got the first 4 books in this series, and this is the first one. And I only paid $7 for this hardback, which is not bad, honestly. And what I like about this series is basically about this Indian prince who was betrothed to a neighboring kingdom's daughter, but then the daughter ended up falling for his brother. So Dhiren is, I think it's how you're supposed to say his name, was the prince that was supposed to be married to the daughter named Yasubai. But Yasubai ends up falling for Kishan, Dhiren's brother. So it's about the 2 of them, trying to work things out. And what happens is Yasubai's father ends up placing a curse on both Dhiren and Kishan, turning them into tigers. And Yasubai actually ends up dying. She gets her head cracked on the side of a pillar. But it starts off with Dhiren actually at a circus. He's a circus tiger. And what happens is there's this girl that goes there for a couple weeks to earn a little bit of money for the summer. And she becomes fascinated with Dhiren. And eventually this man named Mr. Kadam comes in. Anik Kadam, I think is how his name is supposed to be pronounced. Apologize to anybody that knows how to pronounce Indian. I do not, so I apologize heavily for that. So forgive me. But he comes in and basically offers to buy Dhiren from the circus to free him. And the girl, Kelsey, she said, I'll miss you, big guy. Because she had actually really grown to like him. And Mr. Kadam said, would you mind coming with me to India to make sure that he is, rehabilitated well in the tiger reserve. She doesn't know he's human. And, she asks her foster parents, because her parents had died, and she was with a foster family. And Mr. Kadam went with her and, talked him into letting her go. But when she gets to India, that's when she finds out that Dhiren is actually a human that got cursed and turned into a tiger. So it's basically like the start of them trying to break the curse and everything. And Dhiren is a white tiger, but his brother Kishan is a black tiger, and you'll see what he looks like on the cover of a different book here in a minute. But yeah, I just finished this one about an hour ago, and I forgot how much I really liked the series, because I read the first two, but when I read the first two, 3 and 4, 5, 3, 4, and 5 weren't out yet. So I'm really interested to see how this keeps going. Okay, this is the last Barnes & Noble one, and it is See You Again in Pyongyang, A Journey into Kim Jong-un's North Korea. So this is like, I think it's another like journalist perspective, but it also just talks about his experience being in the capital and everything. So I'm interested to read this and see what I think of this one. I just know that the text is insanely tiny, so I'm glad I have readers, is all I can say. Glad I have readers for this. Okay, the rest of the books are from that local bookstore that I mentioned, and I need to stretch my leg out because it is falling asleep. My leg falls asleep easily if I have it bent too long. There we go. Sorry about that, guys. You're balanced in my lap now. Just because I needed to stretch my leg out. Anyway, I did pick up 2 classics. I picked up Animal Farm by George Orwell. And what's funny is I have a great aunt that took me to that bookstore because she was visiting to order something for Papa, I think. And I saw this, and she went, "Oh yeah, I read this back when I was in school, and they had to like draw one of the animals on the farm." And then I showed it to both Grandma and Papa, and Wally too, my Papa's brother, Uncle Wally. They all said the same thing. So I'm interested to see what I think of this. The next classic I got, I've heard so many people compare North Korea to this book that I was intrigued. And it's George Orwell's 1984. So I'm really interested to see my thoughts on this. It seems like it'll be really interesting to read and also to form my own opinions on. And one thing I like about that bookstore though is you can take books in, trade for store credit. So I have a feeling when I read these 2, I'll probably return them and get store credit. But I think the Tiger books I'm going to end up keeping just because it was like a really nice reread. These rope is dry. Sorry about that ice rattling, I know that's kind of annoying. Okay. I'll go ahead and show you guys books 2, 3, and 4 in the Tiger series. Tiger's Curse saga, rather. So this is book 2. So this is what Kishan looks like, his brother. His brother is the Black Tiger, which I thought was really cool looking. It says this is a sequel. I'm not going to spoil anything, but yeah. I I thought this was just a super cool cover because I've never seen a black tiger, like, ever. So, this is really cool. And this one is a little bit longer than book 1, I believe. I think book 1 is like 404 pages or something. And this one is how much? It's $4.79, so a little bit longer, but not that much. And these books have some weight to them too. If you want to carry a book around to read and also use as a weapon, I swear these books weigh like 5 pounds each. It's insane. So this is book 2. Book 3, I believe, is the longest one. This is what the cover looks like. Very creepy. Very creepy. But this is pushing like 600 pages, so. I am really interested to see where the series keeps going. Just based off the ending of the first book and then rereading the second book, but then having books 3 and 4 on top of that. I don't have book 5. I may need to ask the place if they have book 5 anywhere at one of their other locations. And then book 6 doesn't come out for a while, so I'm going to take my time with these, that way I can wait for, I can keep going, and then when book 6 comes out, I can just pick it up and read. So, but yeah, this dragon is like really creepy. And then book 4 has a phoenix on the front. It looks super cool. So yeah, I'm really excited to read the next books in the series as it keeps going. I have 4 more to show you guys, so I apologize that this is a bit long. It's been a while since I've recorded, but I wanted to, come on here and talk with you guys for a bit. This next one is Can You Keep a Secret by Sophie Kinsella. She wrote the Confessions of a Shopaholic series, if you guys know that series at all. But this woman flies to a new city to start a new job, and she ends up spilling all of her secrets to a random stranger on the plane, but then when she goes to work that morning in the city, she finds out that it's her new boss, and things are insanely awkward. So, it says, secrets from her boyfriend, and then from her mother, and then secrets she wouldn't share with anyone in the world. But she ends up spilling all that to her new boss. So, really intrigued to see how this one goes. This next one is called Me Before You by Jojo Moyes. It's going to become a movie soon. But this is about a girl named Louisa who takes a badly needed job working for someone named Will Traynor, who is wheelchair bound after an accident. Says he is exerbic, moody, bossy, but Louisa refuses to treat him with kid gloves, and soon his happiness means more to her than she expected. She learns that Will has shocking plans of his own. She sets out to show him that life is still worth living. So I'm really curious to see how this is going to unfold. This just seems really interesting to me. Next one I got is called Lunch in Paris, a love story. It's got recipes in it throughout the story. It says, Elizabeth Bard sat down to lunch with a handsome Frenchman and never went home again. Was it love at first sight, or was it the way her knife slid effortlessly through her whatever she's eating? I don't speak French. But it's saying, Lunch in Paris is the story of a young woman caught up in two passionate affairs, one with her new beau, Wendell, the other with French cuisine. So, this seems like it's going to be really interesting. But I like that it's also got recipes in it, so if I mentioned to Grandma or anybody about a recipe in here that they wanted to try, I mean, I could read it down, so that was cool. And the last one is called Ghost Girl by Tanya Hurley. And it looks like this very tall book. But then you just open the cover like that. It says, before she can rest in peace, Charlotte must return to the tragic site of her death, high school. She still has one last assignment to complete, but no one explained what happens if you fall in love with your class project. Charlotte would die again for love, but when her ticket to the afterlife means having to face the dreaded, all-too-familiar pains of being invisible, it may be too much for her to withstand. So this seems really interesting to me. I remember when I was in the store, the woman in there was stocking the shelves, and she actually had this in her hand. So I picked it up out of curiosity, just because I'd never heard of this book series, like, at all. Never heard of this series. So I'm really interested to give this a go and see what I think. Okay guys, that was the end of my book haul. I apologize if the video is a bit long, but I wanted to give slight descriptions on the books and stuff, not just show the book and not say anything. But hopefully you guys enjoyed. Let me know down below if you've read any of these books, if you've read the Tigers series, because when I posted that in my Discord, everybody was like freaking out. So, yeah. With that, I will talk to y'all again in another video at another time. Bye, Roses. Young.